ไม่เคยได้ถามอาจจะยังไม่รู้แต่ถ้าถามครูและคุณจะรู้จะเข้าใจอาจไม่เคยได้ถามหรืออาจจะยังไม่เห็นสิ่งที่ครูเป็นก็อยากให้คุณได้เข้าใจ
สวัสดีครับผม
สวัสดีครับ
ครับขอต้อนรับเข้าสู่รายการถ้าถามครูณนะครับ
หรือครูไทยไดอะล็อกครับวันนี้เรามาในรูปแบบพิเศษกันเล็กน้อยนะครับก็ไม่เล็กน้อยนะครับเยอะเลยครับพี่นัทก็ครับผมนะครับครูมะนาวนะครับแล้วก็ครูนัทนะครับวันนี้เรามารับหน้าที่เป็นพิธีกรแต่เป็นพิธีกรเปิดนะครับในการไลฟ์ในวันนี้นะครับ
ใช่ครับแล้ววันนี้นะครับเราได้รับเกียรติจากผู้เชี่ยวชาญนะครับจากหลายๆประเทศทั่วโลกนะครับมาร่วมพูดคุยกันนะครับถึง4ท่านด้วยกันนะครับว่าในช่วงของการเปิดโรงเรียนเนี้ยจากที่เราพูดคุยกันว่าในประเทศไทยเรากำลังทำอะไรกันบ้างแต่อีกหลายๆคนก็มีความสงสัยเหมือนกันว่าในอีกหลายๆประเทศทั่วโลกเขากำลังทำกันอะไรกันบ้างครับครูมะนาว
ซึ่งประเทศไทยนะครับวันพรุ่งนี้นะครับพี่นัทจะเริ่มเป็นวันแรกนะครับที่จะเปิดภาคเรียนนะครับ
ใช่แล้วครับเพราะฉะนั้นวันนี้ถือเป็นโอกาสที่ดีนะครับที่จะได้มาเรียนรู้ร่วมกันนะครับว่าเรากำลังทำอะไรและคนที่อยู่ที่ประเทศอื่นๆกำลังทำอะไรกันบ้างนะครับรูปแบบของการจัดการพูดคุยในวันนี้นะครับจะอยู่ในรูปแบบของการไลฟ์สดนะครับผ่านทาง Facebook Page ของเรานะครับ
แต่อีกช่องทางหนึ่งคือใน YouTube นะครับใน Channel ถ้าถามครูนะครับก็คือเป็น2ช่องทางวันนี้นะครับ
ครับผมแล้วก็ในวันนี้นะครับเราได้รับเกียรติจากผู้เชี่ยวชาญทั้ง4ท่านนะครับที่จะมาร่วมพูดคุยกันกับเรานะครับ
ขออนุญาต
แนะนำเลยแล้วกันนะครับครับผมท่านแรกนะครับท่านเป็นศาสตราจารย์กิตติคุณนะครับโตซีฮินนะครับจาก University of Alberta ประเทศแคนาดานะครับนอกจากการเป็นอาจารย์มหาวิทยาลัยแล้วท่านยังเป็นประธานของสถาบันที่ชื่อว่า World Council for Curriculum and Instruction นะครับและท่านนี้นะครับเป็นผู้เชี่ยวชาญนะครับด้านการจัดการศึกษาเพื่อวัฒนธรรมแห่งสันติภาพรวมไปถึงเรื่องของการศึกษาเพื่อการสร้างประชาคมโลกนะครับผมเพราะฉะนั้นในมุมมองเกี่ยวกับโลกแล้วเนี่ยการที่เรามีวัฒนธรรมที่หลากหลายเนี่ยเราจะสามารถอยู่ร่วมกันอย่างไรจัดการศึกษาร่วมกันอย่างไรท่านนี้จะสามารถให้มุมมองที่น่าสนใจได้นะครับผมท่านที่2ครับท่านคือศาสตราจารย์วุฒิคุณนะครับยูริคีลอยมาจาก University of Eastern Finland นะครับท่านมาจากประเทศฟินแลนด์แล้วก็มีความเชี่ยวชาญทางด้านการศึกษาขั้นพื้นฐานนะครับรวมไปถึงครุศึกษาด้วยครับท่านที่3นะครับคืออาจารย์มาริยามไลซานะครับจาก Maldives National University จากประเทศมาลดีฟนะครับผมท่านมีความเชี่ยวชาญด้านประถมศึกษานะครับการพัฒนาหลักสูตรและก็สิทธิมนุษยชนครับผมและอีกท่านหนึ่งครับเป็นตัวแทนประเทศไทยนะครับท่านก็คือผู้ช่วยศาสตราจารย์ดร.จุฑารัตน์วิบูลย์ผลจากคณะครุศาสตร์จุฬาลงกรณ์มหาวิทยาลัยครับท่านมีความเชี่ยวชาญด้านการจัดการเรียนรู้ภาษาอังกฤษและการสอนนะครับผมรวมถึงด้านครุศึกษาด้วยครับ
ซึ่งอาจารย์จุฑารัตน์ก็เป็นผู้อยู่เบื้องหลังของเรามาทั้ง4 EP นะครับก็เป็นผู้ในการผลิตนะครับ
และในวันนี้นะครับท่านจะมามีส่วนร่วมกับเราในอีกบทบาทหนึ่งนะครับก็คือการเป็นผู้ร่วมเสวนานะครับ
วันนี้เราจะคุยกันเรื่องอะไรครับพี่นัท
ชื่อตอนของวันนี้นะครับดูเป็นสากลและ international มากๆนะครับก็คือขออนุญาตได้ใช้ความเป็นอะไรนะวิชาชีพของตนเองหน่อยนะครับคือครูภาษาอังกฤษก็คือชื่อตอนว่า learning schools and the pandemic views from around the globe คุณครูภาษาไทยครับ
ผมต้องแปลด้วยใช่ไหมครับ
ถูกต้อง
ก็เป็นการพูดคุยกันนะครับในเรื่องของโรงเรียนว่าจะมีการจัดเรียนรู้อย่างไรนะครับในช่วงที่เกิดภาวะโรคระบาดซึ่งเราเป็นที่รู้กันว่าช่วงนี้ก็คือช่วงระบาดของโควิด -19 นะครับ
ครับใช่แล้วค
รับตอนนี้ทั้ง4ท่านนะครับพร้อมที่จะมาพูดคุยกับพวกเราแล้วนะครับพูดคุยให้พวกเราได้ฟังกันแล้วนะครับท่านใดมีคำถามนะครับสามารถพิมพ์มานะครับเดี๋ยวเราจะมีตอนท้ายเราจะมีการให้คำถามเนี่ยไปทางผู้ร่วมเสวนานะครับแล้วก็ในการเสวนาในครั้งนี้นะครับเราจะเป็นการเสวนาในเวอร์ชันภาษาอังกฤษนะครับก็ถ้าท่านใดภาษาอังกฤษไม่แข็งแรงนะครับอย่างเช่นผมเป็นต้นนะครับก็เดี๋ยวรอติดตามนะครับทางเพจของเราอีกครั้งหนึ่งนะครับจะมีการอัพขึ้นมานะครับย้อนหลังแล้วก็จะมีการให้ข้อมูลที่ได้รับจากในวันนี้นะครับเป็นนำเสนอในรูปแบบของ อินโฟกราฟิกแล้วก็อาจจะมีโค้ดคำต่างๆที่น่าสนใจแล้วก็มีข้อมูลเพิ่มเติมให้นะครับตอนนี้ทั้งครับผู้เสวนาน่าจะพร้อมแล้วนะครับเดี๋ยวเราจะมอบเวทีนี้ให้กับ
ขออนุญาตแป๊บนึงครับน้องมะนาวครับตอนนี้ทราบว่าทางอาจารย์ยุรกี้นะครับท่านอาจจะมีความขัดข้องทางเทคนิคนะครับเลยไม่สามารถที่จะร่วมเสวนาสดผ่าน Facebook Live กับเราได้ในตอนนี้นะครับแต่ว่าในตอนที่เป็นตอน YouTube นะครับท่านอาจจะฝากวิดีโอคลิปสั้นๆนะครับที่จะพูดคุยในแง่มุมของท่านให้เราได้ร่วมรับฟังกันอีกครั้งหนึ่งต่อไปครับคิดว่าตอนนี้หลายๆท่านน่าจะพร้อมแล้วนะครับก็ขอเชิญพบกับผู้เชี่ยวชาญทั้ง4ท่านในการเสวนาโต๊ะกลมได้เลยครับ
So thank you for Crew Nat and Crew Manao for introducing our group and good evening to everyone who is watching us live from the Facebook page or the YouTube program. And joining with me today, I have two kun crew, two teachers from Maldives and from Canada. Can I now invite Adjunct Toh Swee-Hin and Adjunct Mariyam Laiza? Hi. So and this will be only the three of us. Adjunct Jyrki cannot join us tonight, unfortunately, but he will later on send us a video clip to be played along with our video. So for our talk today, we're now live on Facebook. Our program has a Facebook page called Crew Thai Dialogue, and crew in English is a teacher. So in this program, we normally have dialogues among teachers and educators about issues that are related to education. And so in this episode, we're going, we plan to have this episode with the three of you, because tomorrow is our first day of school reopening in Thailand. So our team would like to hear from, the different perspectives, different views from various parts of the world. So let me now ask you to tell us a little bit how's the situation in Canada and in Maldives now. First of all, the time in Canada now is
6:30 a.m. Yeah, roughly 6:30 a.m.
Right. So thank you so much for waking up very early in the morning to join us today. So it's now 30 something. And how about the time in Maldives, Mariyam?
In Maldives, it's 5:35 p.m. in the evening.
5:35. Okay, so you're actually behind us. 2 hours. Yeah. I see. Okay. All right. So not too late for you then. Okay. Yeah. So how's the situation now? How about we start from Maldives, since you're closer to Thailand? How's the COVID-19 situation in Maldives now?
Yeah, I think it's a bit calm now after after a very fast spread. Now the number of cases are quite less compared to the beginning of the community spread. So the government also has decided that we also open the school tomorrow, but it's not for everyone. The schools are open only for students above grade 9. So 9, 10, 11, 12, they will be attending school. And it's not every day that they will be attending school. So it's up to the schools to decide how much online time they are going to have and how much face-to-face time they are going to have. So normally, most of the schools have decided that they will have 4 days face-to-face and then online parts. So the government also has told that the number of hours that they have to cover should be covered, even though they come for a few hours. So usually they will be in school for around 5 to 6 hours, but now it's 4 hours because in a classroom, in a normal classroom, there will be around 30 students. So there's no way we can have the the physical distancing. So decided that we will have several sessions, so that in each session there will be few students attending, so that we can have the tables 3 feet apart. Yeah, so after some time, after July 15th, around July 15th, again another batch of based on how the things are going on, key stage that's 3 will be attending school. That's students from grade 7 and 8.
I see.
Okay. So far online classes are going. There are 2 modes. One is through we call it teleclass. It's via television. So in almost all the houses there is at least one television. So the government really ensured that all the children are reached before they started up this. First it was open for online classes, and then the government told to stop the classes just to ensure that all the students are reached, because in some islands, especially the islands that are far, or the small islands, their network is not so good, so they cannot really have online classes. So they started the teleclass because of that. So from April 15th onwards, most of the schools are having both modes, that's online. Usually they use Google Classrooms, and also the teleclass is for everyone. That's and there's also a Ministry of Education portal where all the assignments and all the works for each grade is submitted, so students can get access. And the schools usually communicate with the parents through Viber. Here the mode of the app that is most common is Viber. So usually each class will have a Viber group with all the parents involved, so most of the communication goes through it. Yeah, so that's how it's going so far, and hopefully tomorrow for grade 9, 10, 11, 12, we are going to start.
I see. So the tomorrow will be a big day actually for the schools, right? Starting a few grades. And do you know why they decided to have these older grades to go to school first? So this means that the students, the elementary grades, are going to stay home, and then they are still studying though, right? But from TV
and online classes.
I see. Okay. So schools are going on, but with different modes of teaching, right? But the on-site learning will start for grade 9 and 10 and 11.
Yeah.
Okay.
Maybe the why the government decided to take the senior students first is one thing is they are preparing for a foreign exam, which is Cambridge O-level and A-level. So they have to have the class in order to sit the exam. So that's one reason they have to start. And the other reason is with the kids, it's really with a lot of education and awareness only, I think we can have this what we want from them, like the physical distancing and wearing the mask. It's not so normal for them. So since the lockdown, children were not allowed to go out, but starting from June 15th, in the evening from 4 to 6, students kids can go out with the parents. So that's the only time they can come out of house. Only for 2 hours. That's only this month. This month they gave this opportunity for children.
Interesting. Okay, so the young ones are really kept at home for a few months already.
All the vulnerable groups, yeah. Even the elderly people, for them also, when the lockdown was eased on June 15th, they were allowed to come only from 5 to 8 in the morning. So that's the time that they can walk around, have some fresh air. So that's the only time they can come out.
Oh, I see. Okay, interesting. So how's the situation in Canada, Ajahn Toh? Is it similar or different from what we heard about Maldives?
Well, Canada, as you know, is it's a federal country, and so each province is responsible for its own education. But of course, the outbreak is national and global, and so there are similar policies, so that by middle of March, roughly all the provinces stopped in-class education and switched to online learning. And only in a couple of provinces since then have slowly reopened partially a number of schools. But of course, with the ending of the school year, we're now into the so-called summer vacation, and it won't be till September, fall, when the normal school year begins. Before I get into that, what may happen in the fall, the switch to online learning, of course, as in the case of Mariyam Maldives, has been to go online through Google Classroom especially. And teachers also connect through phone calls especially to parents to check, and also to students to see what's going on in case they're not checking in online, but also emailing among themselves and with education administrators. Now the Department of Education in different provinces do set some guidelines. So number of hours, for example, at the elementary level, it's considered to be on average 5 hours per week for elementary students, instruction, quote unquote, online instruction. That doesn't mean the students don't do homework and so on their own. At the junior secondary level, it becomes extended to 10 hours per student per week. And then from grades 10 to 12, it focuses more per course. So it's like 3 hours per course per student per week. And the shift to online learning has also meant a kind of focusing, so that at the elementary level, it's more literacy, English literacy, or in the case of Quebec, French, as well as mathematics, numeracy at the lower elementary levels. In grade 4 to 6, social studies and science are weaved in, and this is expanded more within the grade 7 to 9, and then from 10 to 12, it's of course getting into more specific subjects: physics, biology, chemistry, maths. But of course, with the shift to online and away from schools, we don't have the usual practicum labs, so that needed adjustment. And the adjustment is reflected in terms of assessment. So all exams were cancelled, and basically students were told, parents were told that no student will be like assessed in a way that they would not continue next year into the next grade. But of course, teachers are expected to also continue to give reports on the students' progress through the online learning mode. The teachers of course prepare lessons, classroom activities, and so on through the online mode, through the Google Classroom. But there's even before COVID, there's always been a lot of resources available for teachers and students through the Department of Education. And of course, with online access, there's lots of other educational sites available. The Alberta Teachers Association, which is the sort of professional association or union of the teachers, conducted a survey last month of about 8,000 teachers. And there the teachers did express concern, because even though Canada is one of the advanced industrialized countries, not every student or every family actually has internet access. We're talking of lower income families, families who have just arrived from other countries as refugees, indigenous peoples who live in more remote areas. So those are still concerns of the teachers, that that lack of access for a minority. But even when there is access, the teachers do say that not every student checks in regularly as they need to. And of course, we know that with online learning in school-based situations, parents play a major supporting role. And it isn't the case that all parents actually have the literacy skills or even the time, because plus the, if you like, the stress and the trauma of COVID-19. Some high school students actually continue to do part-time work because parents have been laid off. And so the economic situation of some families are getting much more difficult. And so some students actually do a bit of part-time work in order to economically survive. So teachers also feel that a sense of a lack of engagement, because in a face-to-face classroom, we engage with students on a regular basis and among students. But now in online, there is a disconnection there between teachers and students as learners, as a community, that the school community. And for some teachers, it means that they no longer feel fulfilling the full role of being an educator. So those are some of the issues that were recent in terms of the lockdown period. Now, of course, with the closing of schools, it means the next 2 months will be, time for quote unquote some recovery for teachers. But still looking ahead, there is concern about what may actually happen. And there are open scenarios. So I think no provincial government has said definitely September everything will reopen. It all depends on the COVID situation, because there could be second waves and so on. So Alberta, for example, has 3 scenarios. One, hopefully with the declining infections and no upsurge of second waves, there will be kind of more of a near normal situation when students will go back to schools, but with a lot of emphasis on physical safety, rearranging classroom spaces so that students are not too close to each other. And if that happens, everyone will be happier. But in case it's necessary, there can be a situation where not everyone will go to school. It could be staggered in terms of number of days for some students, others will go, because in order to have 15, the maximum number then will be 15 students per classroom. There won't be enough space unless there's some rescheduling of people attending school face-to-face. So when that happens, the online learning will continue to balance out the reduction of classroom education. But of course, the third scenario, if things get really bad, then schools will not reopen, and there will be continuing of online and remote learning.
Yeah. So I guess the situations are quite similar in the sense of, even though we're trying to support the students with the distance learning, but the mode of distance learning is in a way limited, right? Because of the diversity of the learners that we have in every country. Even in Canada, we're facing a similar issue. In Thailand, this also has been an issue. As Mariyam said, that TV is also one of our choices as well. So one of the things that the government is now supporting is to make sure that we have TV programs that run, I think they're now running the main subjects. So all of the compulsory subjects are run using the TV programs. So the models that I use in the three contexts, I think are quite similar, but maybe the degree of, how much we can do things online vary from one country to another. I'm interested in the way that Canada is managing the learning time for the students, though. You were saying that the number of hours that the students learn for the younger learners and the older learners are different, right?
Yes, I think the expectation is that younger learners will have less instructional time. But as I say, some parents will be in a better position to add on to their students' learning, to supervise the students and also collaborate with the teachers to expand the learning capacity of the students. But not all parents can do that because of the experiences, and they could be in home situations which actually are quite crowded. There's a lot of distraction as well. So there are those challenges that teachers do face. And of course, when we say, when we talk about motivation to learn, it takes a lot of motivation to learn, even without COVID. Online teaching and learning always requires that the learners are committed. So what the teachers are noticing in Alberta is that the level of students seems to be declining, and even parents who in the beginning could be quite active are showing less activity, for all range of factors. And I think the wider issues of being laid off, although the government in Canada has done better than other countries to give financial support to parents who are unemployed now, still there's a lot of worry, a lot of reduction in resources.
Yeah, I think this is one of the challenges that we're having here as well. But schools in Thailand may be a bit more similar to Maldives schools. We are trying to still cover everything in the curriculum during this time even. So that's a big challenge. The way that the schools are going to reopen tomorrow is also trying to reduce the number of students. And so I think in most cases, the teachers will have probably only half of the class time with the students, only half of the time that the students will actually come to the school. And then the other half, then they will have to learn in the distance mode. So the challenge is, how will they manage the lesson planning, right? To make sure that all the learning outcomes will be still enhanced within the limited time. Yeah. So I like the idea that in Canada, you tend to focus on only the core learning outcomes, the young ones, only emphasizing the literacy and numeracy first, right? And then keep adding on when for the older learners.
Yes, I think in Canada, both the educational authorities and teachers too would be concerned if in this transition from the normal schooling, teachers and students and learners, everyone is expected to do exactly the same, to cover the same amount of syllabus and so on. So that puts an enormous pressure unless you adjust for this different mode, just to get used to online learning. And teachers do also have to learn how to do online teaching. It's learning practice. So and therefore in an assessment, that's why in Canada there is much less emphasis in saying we shouldn't assess. We cannot assess exactly the same because that would not be fair to teachers or students. And to be able to shift to, at least even at the university level, many universities now is no longer giving grades. It's either credit or non-credit. Few universities have said if you don't like the grade that you're getting, you can suspend it and repeat when you come back under better conditions.
That's interesting. Yeah. How's that done in Maldives in terms of the assessment? Is there any change in terms of assessment planning for the schools and universities during this remote teaching? You're muted.
Yeah, in the university, at first there was a discussion that we don't give grades like high distinction like that. But at the last minute, the Senate decided that we keep the policy as it is. So the discussion was we just say whether the student passes or fail, but it wasn't finalized. So we are just giving the grades as before. For the schools, usually key stage 1 and 2, they will not be graded. It's only formative assessment. So during the class time, the students will be assessed. So it's like they will be given not grades, but whether the outcomes are fully achieved, or not achieved, like that.
Okay, so also change the
Yeah.
grading system.
Yeah,
That's
the
nice.
grading system was changed with the new curriculum, which was launched in 2013. Yeah, so grading system is totally different. So with grade 6 and 7 only, they start with the exams. Otherwise, it's only continuous assessments and portfolio and things like that.
Yeah, this is one aspect we haven't heard in Thailand yet for the school reopening. At the university level, the university just ended in May, at the end of May. And so there were some, discussions on this, whether the grades that the students, would be receiving during this remote teaching, how would it affect the students and stuff like that. So that were, some discussions, but I think the practices were varied from one university to another. There was no kind of national guidelines on this yet, and especially for the basic education and the high school education that is going to start. I don't think that we have come to that point yet. So I hope that there will be a discussion on that as well. How will we assess the students when the learning time is changing and the mode of teaching is changing. All of the situations are changing quite much, right? Yeah. So can you tell me a little bit about like how, because the teachers have to prepare a lot for this different kind of teaching. So how is the situation in each country in terms of the support for the teachers? Was there much of the preparation, or were the students in Canada case, were all the teachers ready for conducting the online classes by themselves? Because when you said that the association surveyed the teachers, right, they were only concerned about the students have no access to technology. Was there any concern in terms of themselves, the ability to conduct classes online and stuff?
Oh yes, of course. The Alberta Teacher Association, as the other provincial union associations, have always been involved in the professional development of teachers. So of course, the opportunities to do online workshops or access to resources are there. So for many teachers, it will be a learning curve, how to use Google Classroom effectively. And I think teachers generally are able to do it. It takes time for everyone to learn how to make full use of an alternative technology. There are, of course, as I say, resources that have always been available through different portals, websites, through the Department of Educations and local school boards. So teachers can draw on those to integrate into the Google Classroom as well. So it's more that in doing that, teachers feel exhausted. It's just inevitable that, and they are quite concerned about if there are students who are not checking in what's happening to them, they could be suffering from illness in the family, and all those are disrupt the learning patterns. So there's actually a kind of trauma as a result of COVID, the direct trauma, but also indirect. The teachers actually feel the trauma and the stress and the worries of families. Suddenly, both parents could be out of job, for example. And even if they get some financial assistance, still the worry is what will happen after the main crisis, or will they still be employed? Because many businesses have actually, some have closed down and some are slowly reopening. So that is putting the wider social pressures on the well-being of students. And teachers too have children. Those who are married have children. And so while they're teaching their school children online, they also have to care for their own children at the same time. So those additional burdens make it a test for teachers. And they're also worried about looking ahead. And in some cases, in the normal school situation, there are teacher assistants, aides who help, especially students with special needs, students with disabilities. Now in the lockdown closing down and also the financial constraints, some of those, many of those assistants have actually been laid off too. And will they come back when the schools begin? And as every province is suffering financially because of the economic slowdown, that is also going to have an impact on budgets for schooling and education. So all this kind of create a kind of a mode of uncertainty for professionals who are normally very concerned about they go to school, they work, but now there's those additional uncertainties that they have to work with in their mind and spirit.
Yeah, so a lot of issues that are going on, not only about the change in the learning and teaching, but lives were changed. Right? Yeah. How about in Maldives in terms of the teacher support from the government or from any teacher association?
In the beginning, they started, the ministry asked the schools to have classes the way they wanted, and some started with Google Classroom, and after for 1 or 2 weeks, even with the teleclass, they asked to stop. There was a discontinuation for like 1 month of education actually, but during that time also some of the materials were worksheets and stuff were shared, so the students are engaged, but no online classes or teleclasses were taken. So this was the time that the government actually communicated and found ways actually to carry out and ensure that all the students are reached. So after 1 month, when they started, they gave 5 GB data to each student and 10 GB data to each teacher, so that the government knows that okay, everyone has access now. There will be no financial issues in getting the internet access and everything. So they ensured everything before they restarted, continued the schools. And during this time, they had mass trainings, like online trainings for all the schools together, how to use Google Classroom, the theory aspect, and how the practical parts, how to engage, how to keep the students motivated. All these were actually taught to them through this training. So there were a few trainings going on with the teachers to support them. And for teleclass, since for teleclass, for each grade there'll be, for each topic, like 1 or 2 lessons, so we don't need all the teachers for that, right? So they were asked to volunteer, so only volunteering teachers were taking the classes, and it was broadcasted through TV, and everyone was able to get the benefit of it. Yeah, and the good thing is from the very beginning, even during the discontinued time, the teachers were fully paid, even though they did not do much work. Yeah. So all the government officers, even though they did not do much work, they did not attend the office, they were paid fully. So most of the government employees, they did not have a problem with the status. And there were few students who did not, very few actually, not even 1%. For those students, so in the islands, what they did was they set up the time and asked the kid to come to school and watch TV from school and then go back. So it's only few students who do not have access to TV, they come to school, watch and then go back. And the teachers were supporting during that time. And also materials, worksheets and stuff were provided to those homes as well. So
very nice.
I think everything was really ensured before they started, because no one should be left, all right? So maybe that was the reason they discontinued for a while and then again continued. The same happened in the university too.
Right. That's very nice to hear how the government is trying to support the different, contexts, right? Differently. Yeah. Okay. So I think we're now getting to the last question or, something to leave for the audience for tonight, since we have been having a dialogue for half an hour already. So I guess there are a lot of things going on, and the situation is going to continue on for a while. So from the perspective, since Ajahn Toh, has been observing the situations from many parts of the world, actually, any final thoughts that you can share with the educators in Thailand about the challenges during this time, apart from preparing for the online teaching or the school reopening? Are there any other issues that we should be considering during this pandemic?
First of all, I'm very happy to hear that in Maldives you've been able to accommodate for the differences in access and so on. That's good. But of course, around the world, especially in the global south, over 1 billion children are out of school, and the UN data shows something like over 800 million actually have no computers, and maybe 700 have no internet access. So that already creates a big problem for many students who are already the most vulnerable. Actually, when we shift to online learning and using online tools, not having access to computers or internet access, or in some cases electricity even, means that the inequalities between different social groups will increase because of COVID. And so in the recovery period, there's going to be a lot of catching up to do for governments. And since the optimum support for online learning are parents, then if in those situations parents themselves are struggling to survive, and some are living in very crowded situations or even homelessness, it means it means the learning through the alternative techniques will not solve the social inequality that already exists. Actually, it will aggravate it. And we are seeing that children are now having to take on some tasks now that they're at home, and this also means gender inequality can increase, because if you think of young girls and young women are now having to take on more burdens of caregiving, looking after elderly who may be not so well, and this has some consequences in terms of also gender-based violence. So I think there's more evidence that domestic violence is increasing during COVID times, and because young girls, women are subject even more to it. Another kind of impact that's been noticed is an increase in trafficking. So that, you know, when you talk about cyber and sex exploitation happening, then just to survive, some parents are actually having to allow, quote unquote, their children to be exploited in that way. So we're reminded that when there is a pandemic, not to say anyone's free from the impact of it, but those who are already the poorest, the most vulnerable sectors of societies in the world, they are impacted even more because of a pandemic like that. So in the Philippines, for example, although I moved back to Canada, Philippines at the beginning of the year, all the lockdowns and so on has meant that parents are out of work, and those working in informal economies, the quarantines, they call it quarantines, has had really drastic impact on the well-being of poor families and of course the children involved in it. So even though the department, ministries, education say move to online and blended learning, it will be more the middle class and above students who can actually move into that mode of alternative learning successfully. And the other, may raise briefly a couple of other aspects of what the pandemic is doing in education. Now there are many companies now that are getting into online learning. You know, they're marketing it, and so in a sense, there's a commercialization of even public schooling. And so this is a concern even for the advanced industrialized countries, that if more and more, because of the shift to IT learning, then companies are, you know, these are our products. It could mean that public schooling and professionals actually begin to lose more autonomy in terms of what is good learning, but what is the quality of all those products. In an emergent situation, it could be, yes, it's available to buy or to use, but from a professional educational point of view, what is the quality, and how does it impact on developing the kinds of, you know, what we talk about in peace education or global citizen education, the ethical, the spiritual dimensions of good education. To what extent are those IT resources actually able to do it, rather than saying it's a way to promote more human capital. So that shift of commercialization through the pandemic, I think is something we need to watch out for. And the last point I'd like to raise is, I think the curriculum, as we move hopefully out of COVID-19, is to ensure that all learners understand why the pandemic happens. It's very crucial. It's not simply the outcomes of it, but how did it come about? So when we think about environmental destruction, that you know, links viruses that are usually linked with animals, for example, closer to human beings, then you have those. So and sustainable development education, climate education, all that would be very critical to be integrated into the curriculum. And in the end, it has to do with how we live in the world. You know, how if the dominant paradigm of development globalization continues, we can expect more pandemics. Even how food is produced, so factory production of chickens, etc. All those have virus implications. All those have disease implications. So I think that needs to be brought into the curriculum as well. Okay.
So a lot of work to do after the pandemic.
Yes.
Not only preparing the teachers for, you know, a more flexible, I guess, way of teaching, but also what to teach next, right? To be able to prevent.
And how to teach is very important, because if you think of online learning, it can become quite passive too.
Exactly.
Material is there, and sometimes it's standardized material, and it can be more one way. But of course, in a professional sense, good IT learning is also two-way. So how do we make sure that there's a lot of group work involved? And although you can bring all the students together into one classroom space, but in the virtual space, one can educate in a way that at least develop the critical thinking and the social interaction among the learners, so that even without the school space, the virtual space is still a space for critical thinking, for dialogue, for cross-cultural communication, for talking about the issues of being a good citizen, good global citizen. If we forget that process, then it can become rather didactic, just something to be passed on through an alternative technology. And I would worry if that's the way we're going.
Yeah. So thank you very much. You want to add
also
something?
like to highlight on the different aspects of learning, because through online it's only the intellectual part mostly, so the psychomotor, the affective parts are totally ignored. So we should think of ways how we can do collaborative learning, how we can do, like the professor said, two-way learning. It should be something, because what I found was my kid is also studying online, so I see what he is doing. So I found that the most of the teachers and most of the time they don't even keep the screen on. So that means the students, they just see only the presentations, no teacher, no students are allowed to use the camera or mic. So it's like the teacher talking. So I see my son, moving around, jumping here and there. So he's so bored. So I think we have to, even though we are taking online classes, we have to think of how we can engage the students socially, emotionally, and as professor just highlighted, what their citizenship values, what are the values that we want to teach. We totally ignore all these things. So I think in the future we have to actually highlight on those areas as well. And since in the Maldives the kids are staying at home from February itself, because it was the break when the outbreak was here. So they have been here at home from February, March, April, May, June, so almost 4-5 months. We also have to think of their mental well-being as well. We at least by educating parents so that they can, show love and affection. At least they don't feel ignored, left out, and all these things. Their mental health is also as important. So these are a few things I wanted to highlight.
Exactly. Yeah. So
Sure.
lots of things to consider during this time. I actually was asked one time, when we started shifting online, and one of the challenging question was, now that we see, how classes can be done online, so does this mean that we don't need teachers anymore? So I guess our conversation today answered that question, right? So learning is not just about, receiving the content, right? But there are so many aspects of life that has to be developed through interactions and discussions and activities that we as a teacher can help design for the students, right? So thank you very much for today. This is a very fruitful conversation. I think we need to do this more. So thank you, Professor. Thank you, Professor Toh Swee-Hin.
Thank you so much for the opportunity.
Thank you.
And also Mariyam Laiza. And please stay safe and healthy. And
Thank you.
Yes, let's do maybe a reunion of the APCU sometime soon.
Yes, why
on
not?
Zoom.
Okay.
Okay, Carl. Yeah, so thank you very much for today. Take care and see you again sometime, either on Zoom or in person, hopefully soon. ค่ะสวัสดีค่ะ
Thank you.
In Finland regarding the school closure. And we had it from 16th of March up to 14th of May, from fourth graders to high educational institutions, while lower graders, grades 1, 2, and 3, went to school or were allowed to go to school but recommended to stay at home, and kindergartens were open. In total, 8% of the students went to school during the partial closure, while it makes 92% stayed at home, and kindergarten participation percentage was 32 during. About the challenges in remote teaching and school closure, learning was never interrupted in Finland or in Sweden either. In Sweden, all the grades went to school on basic education, which is K1 to 9, and upper graders, high schools, higher education did distant teaching and learning. Challenges were more or less like curriculum-wise, since we have individualized curriculum arrangement, learning arrangements. Some of them were not fully and successfully done, but 95% of the students did all or almost all homework they were supposed to be doing in a good way and level. Thank you for this minute. So finally, a few ideas of the new normal. First, collaboration with guardians needs to be rethought, and National Agency of Education just gave yesterday instructions for the next coming year, but the main decisions are made on the local level by educational providers, principals and teachers together. So principals don't actually decide by themselves how the teachers are running the schools, but teachers decide themselves how they are running the contact or remote teaching, and it seems that we are using the both ones. So I'm finishing a research in this educational policy, and my sincere concern is the attractiveness of teachers' profession. It's been extraordinarily high in Finland, but after these compulsory lower grade school days and all this pandemic situation, it might be a bit more challenging. Like in Sweden, they have a lack of qualified candidates to teacher education. Thank you. I exist my minute. Bye. See you around.
So can I now turn the stage back to Crew Nat and Crew Manao?
Thank you very much, for all the three professors for sharing a lot of ideas and fruitful conversation with us นะครับขอบคุณมากนะครับขอบคุณอีกครั้งครับผม
Thank you
เป็นไงครับมะนาวได้ไอเดียเยอะไหมฮะ
ก็เดี๋ยวต้องรอฟังพี่นัทสรุปให้ฟังอีกทีนึงนะครับว่ามีประเด็นอะไรบ้าง ผมพยายามจับใจความอยู่แต่ว่ารู้สึกว่าเป็นเวลาที่โอ้โหคุ้มค่ามากนะครับแล้วก็เวลาที่ท่านศาสตราจารย์จะมาพบกับพวกเราเนี่ยไม่ใช่เวลาแบบคือต้องตื่นแต่เช้ามาคุยกับเราเลยวันนี้นะครับเดี๋ยวฝากให้พี่นัทช่วยสรุปประเด็นอีกทีนึงนะครับว่าวันนี้เรามีประเด็นอะไรบ้างที่เราได้ฟังจากการเสวนาในเมื่อกี้สักครู่นี้นะครับ
โอเคก็ต้องบอกไว้ก่อนว่าก็คือได้มีการจดเหมือนกันนะครับแต่ว่ามีประเด็นหลายๆเรื่องที่น่าสนใจทีเดียวอาจจะขอสรุปคร่าวๆให้ฟังก่อนแล้วใครที่อยากจะฟังอีกครั้งหนึ่งก็สามารถติดตามได้นะครับทาง YouTube ทางช่องทาง YouTube ของเราในวันศุกร์นะครับผมโอเคประเด็นหนึ่งที่น่าสนใจมากเลยครับว่าทั้ง3ประเทศเนี่ยมีความตระหนักนะครับแล้วก็มีกระบวนการจัดการนี่ที่คล้ายๆคลึงกับประเทศของเรานะครับก็คือทั้งถ้านักเรียนที่สามารถเข้าถึงการเรียนรู้ออนไลน์เนี่ยก็จัดให้อย่างเต็มที่แต่ถ้าอย่างกรณีของมาลดีฟส์ที่มีนักเรียนบางส่วนนะครับหรือแคนาดาก็มีเหมือนกันแต่อาจจะส่วนน้อยสักหน่อยว่าก็จะเป็นการจัดการเรียนรู้ในแบบremote learning หรือการเรียนรู้ทางไกลครับผมแต่ประเทศแคนาดามีมุมมองที่น่าสนใจเรื่องหนึ่งก็คือเรื่องของการจัดความจำเป็นในการเรียนรู้ครับมีการแบ่งรายวิชาไว้อย่างเช่นวิชาที่สำคัญอย่างเช่นคณิตศาสตร์ชีวะฟิสิกส์นะครับก็จะเป็นวิชาที่ จะต้องจัดมาเรียนรู้ในการเรียนรู้ออนไลน์ก่อนนะครับแล้วก็วิชารองลงมาเนี่ยก็จะเป็นวิชาที่ขอรอดูสถานการณ์อีกครั้งหนึ่งว่าถ้าสถานการณ์โควิดดีขึ้นก็อาจจะเปิดเรียนตามปกติแล้วก็จัดการเรียนรู้ต่อไปนะครับ
แต่หลายโรงเรียนที่เราคุยมาก็คล้ายๆกันนะครับแบบนี้
ถูกต้องครับใช่เพียงแต่ว่าคือระดับของการจัดการเท่านั้นเองที่อาจจะแตกต่างกันออกไปในรายละเอียดของบริบทของแต่ละโรงเรียนนะครับแต่ในมุมหนึ่งที่น่าสนใจมากๆนะครับอาจารย์โตซีฮินได้ฝากไว้ในมุมหนึ่งว่าเมื่อตอนนี้สถานการณ์มันเปลี่ยนแปลงไปแล้วเราก็ไม่มีท่าทีที่จะรู้ว่ามันจะกลับมาได้เมื่อไหร่นะครับการจัดการเรียนรู้ของเราเนี่ยเราจะต้องมองเข้าไปดูในมุมมองอื่นๆที่อาจจะเกิดขึ้นในเรื่องของวัฒนธรรมเพื่อความเพื่อสันติภาพหรือความเท่าเทียมกันนะครับอย่างตัวอย่างเช่นเรื่องของมุมมองทางเพศนะครับความเท่าเทียมทางเพศว่าเมื่อนักเรียนต้องอยู่บ้านเพื่อเรียนรู้จากบ้านพวกเนี่ยกิจวัตรประจำวันของนักเรียนแต่เพศชายเพศหญิงเขามีกิจวัตรที่เท่าเทียมกันหรือเปล่าเพราะว่าในบางประเทศเนี่ยเด็กผู้หญิงอาจจะต้องทำงานบ้านเยอะกว่าหน่อยนะครับเพราะฉะนั้นการที่เขาต้องเปลี่ยนเวลาจากการไปอยู่โรงเรียนมาอยู่ที่บ้านเนี่ยก็อาจจะทำให้เขามีอุปสรรคนะครับหรือมีความขัดข้องในการเรียนรู้ที่แตกต่างจากเด็กผู้ชายสักเล็กน้อยอันนี้เป็นตัวอย่างหนึ่งเท่านั้นนะครับและอาจารย์โตยังฝากอีกเรื่องอาจารย์มาริยามแล้วก็อาจารย์โตก็ได้ฝากไว้เรื่องเดียวกันก็คือว่าตอนนี้เนี่ยการเรียนรู้ออนไลน์เนี่ยจะค่อนข้างจะมีลักษณะที่เป็นไปในทางที่เป็น one way communication นะครับเพราะฉะนั้นการฝึกทักษะการเรียนรู้ของผู้เรียนที่เป็นทักษะการทำงานร่วมกันการคิดเชิงวิเคราะห์นะครับการปฏิสัมพันธ์ทางสังคมเนี่ยอาจจะเป็นกำลังจะเป็นเรื่องที่ถูกมองข้ามนะครับในการจัดการเรียนรู้ออนไลน์ไปบ้างนะครับเพราะฉะนั้นอาจจะฝากให้คุณครูเนี่ยเริ่มนะครับที่จะมีการนึกถึงประเด็นต่างๆเหล่านี้แล้วก็นำมาบูรณาการไว้ในการเรียนรู้ของตัวเองด้วยครับ
พอได้ฟังอย่างนี้ก็จะเห็นว่ามีมุมมองอื่นๆที่เราก็คุยกันมาช่วงประมาณหนึ่งแต่เราไม่ได้พูดถึงประเด็นต่างๆเหล่านี้เช่นเรื่องเพศเรื่องความแตกต่างทางด้านการเรื่องของผู้ชายผู้หญิงอะไรอย่างนี้นะครับก็มีประเด็นน่าสนใจหลายๆประเด็นอยู่ในนี้นะครับซึ่งอยากจะให้ทุกท่านนะครับได้ติดตามในเพจของเรานะครับจะมีการสรุปประเด็นที่ได้จากวันนี้นะครับซึ่งเราค่อนข้างมั่นใจว่าเราได้องค์ความรู้ที่เยอะขึ้นนะครับมากขึ้นให้พร้อมสำหรับที่จะมาแบ่งปันกับทุกท่านนะครับได้นำไปปรับใช้ที่โรงเรียนของทุกท่านนะครับก็ฝากติดตามนะครับเพจถ้าถามครูนะครับและ YouTube Channel นะครับถ้าถามครูนะครับเป็นชื่อเดียวกันก็วันศุกร์หน้านะครับก็อาจจะเป็นการนำเสนอในคลิปนี้แหละนะครับก็เอามาแบ่งปันในเวอร์ชั่นที่อาจจะมีซับไตเติลเราจะพยายามให้ทุกคนได้เข้าใจนะได้เข้าถึงนะครับผมแล้วก็นะครับแล้วก็หลังจากนี้จะเป็นเรื่องอะไรนะครับก็ฝากติดตามพวกเราต่อไปนะครับกดไลค์กดแชร์กด Subscribe ไว้นะครับ
ครับสำหรับวันนี้นะครับก็ต้องขอบคุณผู้ร่วมเสวนาของเราทั้ง3ท่านจริงๆทั้ง4ท่านเลยนะครับจริงๆแล้วเดี๋ยวทาง Professor Jyrki ก็จะมีการแบ่งปันนะครับข้อมูลในเชิงวิดีโอคลิปเข้ามาร่วมที่จะแอดเข้ามาในวันศุกร์นี้ด้วยนะครับขอบคุณผู้ร่วมเสวนาทั้ง4ท่านแล้วก็ขอบคุณผู้ชมที่ยังติดตามกันอยู่นะครับจนถึงตอนนี้แล้วไว้เจอกันอีกทีในเอพิโซดต่อไปเนาะมะนาวเนาะครับผม
สวัสดีครับ
วันนี้สวัสดีครับ
อาจไม่เคยได้ถามอาจจะยังไม่รู้แต่ถ้าถามครูและคุณจะรู้จะเข้าใจอาจไม่เคยได้ถามหรืออาจจะยังไม่เห็นสิ่งที่ครูเป็นก็อยากให้คุณได้เข้าใจ